Many years ago, in a city known as Egbeda, there lived a young man named Kunle. Kunle was an orphan. His parents and siblings had all died in a car crash when he was only 5 years old. So Kunle had to live with his uncles. He had lived with over four uncles in a space of just 15 years. Kunle was always sad because his uncles' wives treated him very badly, and his uncles did nothing about it. When Kunle was only 20 years old, he ran away from his uncle's house and started living on the streets. He started doing several menial jobs. He would go from home to wash clothes. He would also go from one home to the other, collecting their waste and disposing them. He would also go to the market and help people carry load for a fee, just to make ends meet. And with the little money that Kunle earned, he took care of himself. Kunle was determined to give himself a better life. He did not want to continue living on the streets. He wanted to become somebody important in life. And so Kunle vowed that he was going to get a university education and become a lawyer, no matter what it will cost him. So Kunle saved as much money as he could and spent very little on himself. In a space of 3 months, Kunle was able to rent a very small room, so he now had a roof over his head. Kunle began to save aggressively, and he bought a lot of books. And every night, whenever he came back from working all sorts of menial jobs, he would read as much as he could. He really wanted to go to school. He planned on working for 4 years to gather as much money as he could, so he could go to the university. 3 years later, Kunle woke up one day feeling so excited. He had brought out the box where he saves all his money and had counted it, and it was up to 3 million naira. Kunle was so excited. He had saved enough to go to school the following year. He had just 1 more year to apply to the university to study law and become a lawyer. One day, Kunle was coming back from work in the evening when he met Chioma. Chioma was only 16 years old. She was coming back from lesson. She was done with her secondary school education and was attending lessons so she could be well prepared for her JAMB exams and secure admission into the university to study law. One of the books Chioma was carrying in her hands had caught Kunle's attention, so he approached her and said, "Hello, I see that you have this government book by Adedeji Richard. I love it so much because it's so easy and simple to understand." Kunle said excitedly, "Oh yes, I do. But you did not bother introducing yourself to me." "My name is Chioma. What is your name?" Chioma replied. "I'm so sorry, Chioma. My name is Kunle. I love to read. And immediately I saw you carrying that book, it caught my attention, and I knew I had to come say hello," Kunle replied. So Kunle continued working with Chioma, and as they discussed, he found out that Chioma also wanted to become a lawyer, just like himself. He was so happy. Chioma was the only daughter of her parents. She had a younger brother named Eze. Her parents were both traders at the markets, and although they earned very little, which was barely enough to provide for their family, they valued education so much and would do anything to see their only daughter, Chioma, through school. Chioma was very intelligent, and her parents wanted to support her dream of becoming a lawyer. So even though they did not have the money at the time to pay for her university education, they let her take the examination while they hoped and prayed for a miracle so they could pay their daughter's school fees. As the days passed, Chioma and Kunle became very close friends. They hung out more often, gisting and laughing. They also read together. Kunle fell in love with Chioma. He loved her very much, and they started dating immediately. From the little money that Kunle made, he would always buy a gift for Chioma, no matter how little. Kunle would visit Chioma in her parents' house, and her parents really liked him because he was well behaved and had a good influence on their daughter. And even though they spent time alone in his apartment every evening, after Kunle had closed from work and Chioma was back from lesson, Kunle never kissed or tried to have sex with Chioma. Even when Chioma wanted it, Kunle would always refuse her, telling her that he did not want to destroy her life. He did not want her to get pregnant or to distract her from securing an admission into the university. One evening, Chioma had come into Kunle's room, screaming and shouting excitedly, "I passed! I passed! I have gained admission into the university to study law." Chioma screamed. Kunle was so happy. He immediately grabbed her excitedly and said, "Congratulations, my love. I knew you would pass with flying colors and gain admission." Later that evening, Kunle took Chioma out to celebrate her for passing and gaining admission into the university. They were both so happy. It was already 2 months later, and it was time for Chioma to go to the university. But her parents had not been able to raise the money for her school fees. Her school fees and acceptance fee and everything that she was supposed to pay as a new intake would cost about 1.2 million naira. But they had only raised 120,000, and it was barely 1 week to the deadline for Chioma to pay her school fees or she would lose her admission. Chioma's parents were very sad. They stayed awake most nights discussing between themselves. They were worried sick about their inability to pay Chioma's school fees. So one night, they called her to speak with her. "Chioma, I am so sorry. Your mother and I are unable to raise the money for your school fees. We have tried our best. We have tried reaching out to your uncles and even trying to take a loan, but nothing seems to be working out. So you may need to defer your admission and go to school next year," Chioma's father said, looking so sad. Chioma immediately broke down in tears. That night, Chioma could not sleep. She stayed awake all night, thinking and crying. She knew her parents had tried their best, but she really wanted to go to school that year. The following day, Chioma ran to Kunle's house, crying, narrating her predicament to Kunle, weeping and crying. Kunle tried comforting her as much as he could, telling her that all would be well. Throughout that day, Kunle could not go to work. He stayed at home, thinking and pondering on all that Chioma had told him. He didn't know what to do. Kunle knew that he had up to 3 million naira in his house, and he knew that Chioma really wanted to go to school. But he also planned on going to school the next year. But then, he loved Chioma very much. He couldn't bear to see her in her misery. So Kunle was torn between his love for his education and his love for Chioma. So Kunle decided to call Chioma to come over to his house so they could discuss. "Chioma, do you really love me?" Kunle asked. "Of course I do. Why will you ask such a question?" Chioma replied. Chioma, would you want to marry me when you graduate from the university? Kunle, what kind of questions are you asking me? Chioma replied, of course, I even want to marry you now. You know how much I love you. Chioma responded, Hmm, Chioma, you know that I'm an orphan, but then I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And so since I started working, I have been saving most of all the money that I make so I can pay my school fees, as there's nobody that can help me once I gain admission into the university, Kunle said. Okay, Chioma responded. So I was thinking that instead of going to school next year, that I should use the money that I have saved to pay for your education and work and send you to school since we are going to get married. Then when you graduate, we will both get married, and when you start working and earning money as a lawyer, then I can go back to school and you will pay for my own education. What do you think? Kunle asked. It's a wonderful idea, Chioma said excitedly as she ran and hugged Kunle. Thank you so much, Kunle. Thank you so much. I promise you that as soon as I graduate, we are going to get married. And as soon as I start earning, I'll send you back to school. And by then, I'll be earning a lot of money as a lawyer. So we will not even struggle to pay your school fees. Thank you so much, Kunle. You're the best thing that has happened to me. Thank you. Thank you, Chioma said, crying. So Chioma told Kunle to follow her home so she could tell her parents all that Kunle had done and their agreement that they were going to get married as soon as she graduated from school. Her parents thanked Kunle profusely, and her father asked her if she was sure that she loved Kunle and wanted to marry him after school in 6 years. Chioma assured her father that she really loved Kunle. Her both parents were happy because they already liked Kunle very much because they saw him as a responsible young man. So her father brought out gin and poured into a cup and blessed it and said, Kunle, this drink signifies that I have accepted you as my son-in-law. But I do not want you to touch my daughter yet. She is not fully your wife. Let her face her education, graduate, then you both can do what married people do. But I give you this drink to affirm that she is betrothed to you. And whenever you come officially to ask for her hands in marriage, after 5 years of university and 1 year of law school, that I will bless your union, and that as you have promised to take care of her education till she graduates, after all, she would become your wife. May God bless you and provide all that you need, Chioma's father said, and they all said, Amen. So that night, they all drank and made merry. Kunle went home very happy. Chioma also slept happy, and her parents were excited that they did not need to bother about her education anymore. Now all they had to focus on was Eze's welfare and his education. So in the next few days, Chioma was off to school. Kunle was very sad yet happy for her. So they spent quality time together a day before she left. And he encouraged her to study very hard. And he also promised her that he was going to work very hard to provide everything that she needed. So all she needed to do in school was to read her books and come out with flying colors. So Chioma resumed at the university, attending lectures and studying very hard. Kunle, on the other hand, worked even harder. He doubled his efforts, and with all the money that he gathered, He sent money to Chioma every month for feeding, for her books, for making her hair, for buying new clothes, and her general upkeep. Chioma never lacked anything in school. She lived very well in school, and they always communicated frequently. And each time school closed, whenever Chioma came home, she spent quality time with Kunle, gisting and laughing, telling him everything about what university life looked like. Kunle would read all the law books Chioma came home with, and Chioma would explain anything that he did not understand. And when it was time to go back to school, Kunle would always give Chioma her school fees and take her shopping at the markets. And things continued like this between Chioma and Kunle until her final year. Then immediately, Chioma changed. She no longer picked his calls when he called her at school. She would always send a text saying that she was busy. And after she came home, even at the end of the session, she did not even bother visiting Kunle. Kunle would only find out that she came home when a friend had seen her in the markets or on the streets, and then tell Kunle that Chioma was around. Kunle even went to visit Chioma at her home, but was met with a very cold reception from her father. "Good evening, Papa," Kunle said. How can I help you?" Chioma's father replied coldly. Kunle was surprised. "Oh, I'm so sorry for coming unannounced, Papa, but I heard that Chioma came back home, and I've been trying to call her, but she's not picking her calls, and she has been avoiding me," Kunle said, looking concerned. "Well, if she's not picking your calls or if she's avoiding you, then it means that she doesn't want to speak with you. Please respect her decision. And if you have nothing else to say, please, I think it is time to leave," Chioma's father said angrily. Kunle was surprised. As he took his leave, he wondered why the change of attitude. He wondered what he had done wrong. In a few days, Chioma went back to school without even seeing Kunle. And this time, she no longer even picked his call or even sent a text. She had even blocked Kunle so that he couldn't call her. Kunle was so frustrated. He became a shadow of himself. A few months later, Chioma had finally graduated from the university, but now ghosted Kunle completely after he had paid her school fees from first year to final year, bought all her law textbooks, gave her money for feeding, clothing for 5 years. Kunle was terrified. He hoped it was not what he thought it was. His friends had warned him and mocked him against sponsoring a woman that was not yet his wife to school. But he did not listen. Kunle was so sad. So when Kunle found out that Chioma had come back home, he started keeping an eye on Chioma's house. Then he began to notice that a very wealthy Igbo man named Oke would always come visiting at Chioma's house in his beautiful car and would always bring gifts for Chioma and her family members. And Chioma would even always come out and kiss him and enter his car, and they would drive off while her parents would stand by the side waving them goodbye. Kunle was so heartbroken. He wept and wept all day. Chioma and her family had completely cut him off. Chioma had jilted him. He had spent more than 8 years of his life savings on Chioma's education. He had forfeited his own education for that of Chioma. Now, he was not only broke and had no savings, but he had no education, and Chioma had left him to be with another man. Kunle was heartbroken. So one day, Kunle got frustrated and decided to confront Chioma and her family. So he monitored Chioma very closely. And one day, when Chioma had come back from an outing with Oke, Kunle immediately came out from his hiding and started shouting, Chioma, Chioma, how could you do this to me? After all that I have done for you, Mama Chioma, Papa Chioma, you promised I would marry your daughter after she graduated. Now you have cut all ties with me. Chioma, 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 after I spent my life savings sending you to school instead of sending myself to school, and this is how you repay me. This is how you repay me, eh? Kunle screamed. Chioma's father tried stopping Kunle from making a scene in front of Oke, their future son-in-law. But Kunle would not budge. He kept on screaming like a wounded lion. So immediately Chioma shouted, what is it? Kunle, I am sorry, but I do not love you anymore. I was only a child. I was just 17 years old when I promised that I would marry you. Look at me. I am all grown up. I am no longer a child. And my taste has changed. Besides, I am now a lawyer and I'll be going to law school next year to become a barrister. How can I get married to a man who carries load on his head in the market or who goes from home to home carrying people's dustbin? I'm sorry, Kunle, but try and understand me. See, I'm willing to pay you back all the money that you have spent on me since we met 5 years ago. And I could even add a little interest. I am sure that my fiancé, Oke, the man of my dreams, is willing to pay you back even much more than you have spent on me. Chioma said and turned to look at Oke lovingly. Oke was shocked. Wait, Chioma, why am I just hearing about all this now? You never told me you had a boyfriend, not to talk of fiancé, that saw you through all the way from first year till you graduated. I can't believe this. And for you, Papa Chioma and Mama Chioma, to say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. And you, Chioma, what you did was very unfair. How can a man train you through school and you dump him just like that? I'm so disappointed in your whole family, Oke said as he entered his car and zoomed off. Baby, baby, it's not what you think, Chioma cried out as she ran after his car. You, this stupid boy, see what you have caused. How you have ruined my daughter's chances of getting married to a wealthy man who would have taken very good care of my daughter and my family and rescued us from the shackles of poverty. Papa Chioma shouted angrily at Kunle. That night, Chioma could not sleep. She kept on calling Oke over the phone, but he refused to pick her calls. She was so worried. The following day, Oke had come very early to see Chioma and her family. I am so sorry, Papa Chioma, but I cannot continue with this marriage. You may wonder why I am not yet married, despite how successful I am. And that is because a young girl, just like your daughter Chioma, did exactly the same thing that she did to her boyfriend Kunle to me. I trained this girl in school many years ago, and she dumped me and married a richer man. It shattered me, and I was in a state of depression for years and found it very difficult to trust any woman. And that is why I swore that I would only marry a woman that has graduated from school. And I swore that I will never train any woman in school. And that was why I came to you, Chioma, because you had already graduated. And here you are, my future wife, still doing the same thing to another man. You girls and your parents that encourage this nonsense need to be taught a lesson. If not, you will never stop using men. and immediately Oke left their house. Chioma walked quickly behind him, crying and begging him. Chioma's parents also followed, begging and crying, asking Oke to please forgive them. Please, Oke, please, we are sorry. But Oke did not even look back at them. As Oke left their house, he described Kunle and asked people around if they knew where he lived, and they directed him to Kunle's house. Kunle was surprised to see Oke in his house. Oke introduced himself and narrated all that he had told Chioma and her family, telling him that he himself had also been a victim when he was younger, how he had trained a younger girl in school, and how when she graduated, she dumped him, saying that she was now a graduate and he was not, so he was not good enough for her. And he told Kunle that that was why, despite how successful he was, he had not yet married till date, because he was still traumatized by that experience. He also told Kunle that he wanted to help him and that he would sponsor his education to the university to study law to become a lawyer, and that he could also come live with him, that he was now adopting him as his younger brother, but that they needed to teach Chioma and her family a lesson so that women all over the world, especially Nigeria, would stop the habit of using men and then dumping them. So in the days that followed, Kunle moved in with Oke, and Oke treated him very well. Kunle sued Chioma for breach of promise to marry, and the courts mandated Chioma to return all the monies that Kunle had spent on her. Chioma and her parents could not raise the money, which was a total of about 10 million naira. So Chioma was remanded in prison. Oke had helped Kunle pay the legal fees, and although Chioma's parents came regularly to beg Kunle and Oke, they did not budge. A few months later, Kunle had gotten admission into the university to study law, and he was so excited. Oke was happy for him as well. Oke paid for everything, and Kunle was so grateful to Oke. Oke saw him through school from first year till he graduated, and even till he went to law school. When Kunle had graduated from law school and became a barrister, Chioma was still in prison because she could not raise the money to pay off Kunle. After a while, Kunle had mercy on her and decided to drop all charges against her, and Chioma was released. When Chioma came out from the prison, she looked like a skeleton. She discovered that her parents had died when she was in prison, and that her brother, Eze, now roamed the streets and hung out with bad boys, drinking and smoking. She was so sorry. She wished she had not jilted Kunle. She was always crying and was depressed. She later learned that Oke was now married to a beautiful woman and had 2 sons, and that Kunle was also about getting married to a beautiful young lady called Remy that he had met in law school. Chioma wept bitterly. She had lost everything: her parents, her brother, and both men, Oke and Kunle. And she wished she could turn back the hands of time. Hi besties, it's Omalicha here again. Thank you for watching my story to the end. Please let me know in the comment section, do you think that Chioma really deserved the karma that she got? After all, she was only 17 years old when she promised Kunle marriage. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And please support my channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing my story with your loved ones. Now, until I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye!